Very
All
excited.
right, we're live. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Tyler, and this is Scorpio Oxman Channel. And today we have a huge celebrity guest with us, very unique. She has starred in some amazing Hollywood motion picture movies. One of them you may have heard is Honolulu 101. And the other one, which came out recently, was, I believe it was called Aloha to Scorpio Oxman Channel. That one was amazing.
There we
Amazing.
go.
Thanks so much, Sabrina. Yeah. Let's all give a huge hand and welcome and aloha to Sabrina Petrov. Yay! Aloha, Sabrina. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. How are you?
Very good. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us today on Scorpio Oxman Channel. And I have to mention that to my viewers and friends, if I'm not careful here, I think somewhere along the way, this channel may eventually become Pisces Ox Woman Channel instead. So if Sabrina takes over, which I think she might do that because, you know, I mentioned I called my channel Scorpio Oxman because I refer to myself as Scorpio, like a Scorpio Ox person, because my moon sign is Scorpio. And also in the Chinese astrology, I was born on day of the ox. So that's where the Scorpio and ox combination are into place. And Sabrina she's her moon sign is Pisces, and she is also born on day of the ox in Chinese astrology, the Pisces ox combination there. So that's something that I'm going to annoy a lot of my friends with this, I know, but I think I can handle them. We'll see what happens over time. So,
Yeah,
so
I definitely think the clarity is good because I'm sure a lot of viewers or a lot of your subscribers were wondering how you came up with that combination. So,
yeah, I know. I haven't had a lot of people ask me out of curiosity, but I know somewhere along the way they would. So to kind of save a million questions coming my way, which I know would probably happen, but we'll see what happens. Yeah. So today, Sabrina and I today we're examining and discussing about mastering the Zodiac. There's a website that's been out since the year 2012. It's hosted by Athan Chimenti, and he comes out with YouTube videos every day. And I'm going to leave the link for you below for you to check out he's just an amazing guy, what he does. And he's basically exposing and showing what he's calling the real natural sky zodiac, which actually looks different from the mainstream zodiac charts, such as the tropical and also the Vedic. And he even mentions too that the Vedic is being more accurate than the tropical, whereas this one is the most accurate, the most to the most. And that's really what he's trying to promote. And so we're going to look at that. We're also discussing about the 25th Nakshatra star, Purva Bhadrapada, or as it's called in Asterian astrology, Chimera, where Chimera is the Greek name of Purva Bhadrapada in Asterian astrology. Asterian astrology is the Greek version of Vedic, for those who are not familiar. And Asterian Astrology is the other website that I promote that is hosted by Jade Soul Luna, who's been around for forever, over 25 years. I believe he's been teaching about the Vedic system of astrology and the 27 signs of the zodiac, the lunar signs of the zodiac, as he calls them, and not so much a focus on the 12 or 13 if we want to count Ophiuchus. So, so we could begin with, if any questions you want to start off with, or if anything that you're curious to know about, Sabrina, before we start up. We'll look at the sites that you've, the site that you sent me, the Spirit Vehicle as well, that shows about the celebrities who they believe is under the sign of Purva Bhadrapada or Chimera. So, and I could actually show that. And yeah, that is, I'll find it here. Actually, advanced. Yeah, I'll get it up here.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up as well.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely love to talk about the difference between, you know, this view of the sky and the constellations as opposed to Vedic. So, but
There
let's,
is
okay,
right
let's
there.
get into this.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So we can, yeah. So Tyler, the Creator, by the way. So I went through the list of them last night, and
Yes.
regarding now Tyler, the Creator, as an example, he's born March the 6th, 1991. Now those, according to, or actually, you know what? Before we start here, we should probably show our viewers and friends what the Mastering the Zodiac chart looks like, which is
Yes.
the real natural sky. So here it is right here. Now, this is the time, this is our time right now, which is, I actually put, so right now the moon is in the number 11 Nakshatra star, Purva Falguni. And I know that, and I think in the Vedic system it is that also. And so here it is, right, this is the exact time right now, April the 6th, 2020, 6:30 p.m. Toronto. Now this is local time for me, Toronto. Now in Honolulu, it wouldn't, I don't think it'd be much different. So you see where the moon is right here, right at the beginning of Virgo.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, we notice that, and Athan Chimeni points this out too, all the signs, they're all a different size. Like in the traditional Vedic system, each of the signs are 30 degrees large, but here they're all a different size. Virgo being the largest, and Scorpio and Ophiuchus being the smallest, that you could see them down there. And so if there was one, so people who follow the Vedic system, if they were to ask one question about looking at this, I'm sure the biggest question would be, where are the nakshatras located? Where are the 27 nakshatras located? Right. So now I'll show you the chart, which I'll get up. Stop share. So here it is right here. And you're able to see that, Sabrina?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so there it is right there. So this is the outlining of what I believe. This is according to AsterianAstrology.com, where Jade Luna points out the sun sign dates of each of the 27 nakshatras. Each of them, there's actually 4 different sizes. Like one of them, a lot of them are 13 days in length when the sun is in the other half are like 14 days. The number 13 nakshatra Hasta is the largest at 17 days long. The very next one, number 14 Chitra, is the smallest at 10 days long. And you see it right here, number 13 and 14.
Right. Just
to show you as an example. So I think this potentially could be the answer to where the 27, if you were to compare the 27 nakshatras to Mastering the Zodiac chart and you combine it, this is probably what the real natural sky zodiac looks like if we were to see it with our own eyes. This is just my own guess and presumption, and it's based on theory. And the reason being, as I mentioned, I'll just go back to show you Asterian Astrology. AsterianAstrology.com. And yeah, so just to go back to the very beginning. Now, these are all, so AsterianAstrology.com, which is hosted by Jade Soul Luna. I'm going to leave the link for you guys below, again, to check this site out. It names off all 27 of the nakshatras, but the Greeks referred to them as palaces. So, and the Egyptians called them they called them lanterns, the 27 lanterns, and the Greeks and Alexander the Great, they called them the palaces, whereas the East Indian Vedic astrologers of today, they call them the nakshatras. So Jade Soul Luna, when he came out with his book regarding this Greek version of the Vedic, he named them all by their Greek names. So as an example, just to show you, so the first nakshatra, as we know, is called Ashwini, which begins at the very beginning of Aries. So Ashwini, Jade Soul Luna calls Ashwini, the Greeks called it Dioscuri. So the sun, so I looked at all these sun sign dates. Okay, so as you can see right here, April the 13th, so this varies every year, but just as an example right here, April the 13th to April the 26th. So that is a 14-day period. Now, if I'll go back to this, so as you can see right here, number 1, Dioscuri, which is, you see where the cursor is. So that is, so what I want to explain is that, so a 14, so here's how I looked at it. So a 14-day period in a 365-day calendar year is equivalent to 13.81 degrees in a 360-degree zodiac. So if you're good at math and you realize that and figure that out. So theoretically, Ashwini is 13.81 degrees in length on the Mastering the Zodiac chart, if we were to follow that.
Right.
So whereas the Vedic astrologers, they have it listed at 13.2 or whichever, but according to this, that's what it would be. So the next Nakshatra star, Bharani, or in this case, it's called Hades in the Asterian version. So that one too is 14 days long when the sun is in it. So in that case, it too is 13.81 degrees. So the next one, whatever length that is, the next one, Kritika, is 12.82, and then 8 degrees long, and then the one after that, and so on and so on. And so Hasta, so going forward to Hasta, which is the largest one. So the sun, the Jade Soul Luna mentions the sun is in it for 17 days. So 17 days in a 365-day calendar, that would be 16.77 when you round to the nearest. So 16.77 degrees in the 360-degree zodiac. So to answer everybody's question, this is when you add them all together from what Jade Soul Luna mentions on the Asterian Astrology site, and you put them in the Mastering the Zodiac. So just my theory and just sort of a presumption of mine, and it's kind of my Scorpio moon antics of analyzing in general. And that's typically what we do. And Cancer moon people, Pisces moon people too, we examine stuff like that and say, if there was a real natural sky and what it would look like with our own eyes, like this could potentially be it. Whereas the Vedic system, they say, and even Athan Chemeni mentions this too, that the Vedic system, it's really not based on the actual sky, but rather on a man-made calendar. Right. Now, Jade Soul Luna, I really want to mention what Jade Soul Luna told me, and I have the email to prove this as well, because I asked him why, and just defending Vedic astrologers, because I respect them so much, like we should, because like you mentioned, Sabrina, they've been following this thousands of years or so. They've been following the Vedic system. Right. So, but Jade Luna mentioned to me, I said to him, I asked him one day on an email, and I said, why is it that they, you mentioned about the sun sign dates, and a lot of them are different sizes. Why is it that the Vedic system has 13.2 degrees, and pretty much all of them are either 13.2 degrees or 13.6 degrees and all that? And they're all like roughly the same size. And why would that be it? And he mentioned to me about some of the ancients, they mentioned that they, and you know what, I'm going to pull up the email to show you this too. Yeah. Of mine, and it was back in, it was a year ago that he emailed it to me, and I'll get it up here too. So, yeah, so he mentioned something about Ganesh. Now, Ganesh, if that's how you pronounce it, it's, I don't know that it's a ritual. it's a ritual that the Vedic astrologers did, where they had direct contact with the gods themselves, and it showed. And so basically, the gods themselves told them how to scale and mention.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I
What?
see.
It might be easier to get on my phone here.
Whatever works.
Yeah, I got it right here on my phone that I could read off to you. Yeah. Yeah. So Sabrina, you've always been an enthusiast Vedic astrologer, or this is something that recently came about with you in your research?
My whole experience with astrology was like relatively recent, having developed in the past um, couple of years, actually. And ultimately, I feel like there's something to be gained from many perspectives, from various perspectives. I still do look at Western charts and the tropical zodiac. I find that there's value in that. Definitely sidereal. I'm very interested in this true sidereal as well. And ultimately, I find that what I do is sort of an amalgamation of a whole bunch of different things, and bringing it back to the water moon, especially like the Pisces. I mean, all of the water moons, it's very intuition based. And I can see that for you, that this, your understanding and the results that you're making, you are following your intuition, which I ultimately support that in anybody. I feel like, following our intuition is where, will lead us to what is right for us and those around us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, new discoveries being made too. Like
Yes.
I'm not saying this is a new discovery. For all I know, they've been talking about this, or they mentioned about this a lot in recent years. So I'm sure it's nothing new, but it's rather, I think a lot of Jade Soul Luna mentioned too, that a lot of people, they want to stick with what they've known for a long time, such as the tropical system and the
Right.
Vedic system too,
Right.
because it's just like they're so familiar with it, and it's like it's whatever gets their attention, like what they find most interesting too, in a way. And but like, not that I'm a skeptic or anything, but no question, this is an interesting topic to discuss about, like,
Yeah.
especially in, we're constantly getting in new ages too, with
Exactly.
as the years go on, and with changes in
Exactly.
that too. And so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I mean, March of 27, 2019. So that's a year ago, where I asked Jade Luna about, I said to Jade, I was curious to know, you mentioned of each star being a different size according to the sun sign dates you mentioned on the site, as I showed you. And in your
Mm-hmm.
book, 27 Stars, Discovering Your True Self with Asterian Astrology, you show the sun sign dates to be different lengths, some of them. So yet the measurements they have of, how is it that they have it measured at, or Hasta, for example, being 17 days long when the sun is in it? Why is it that the Vedic system has it only listed at 13.2 degrees long, when more realistically it should probably be around 16.77? And
Right.
so when compared to a 360-degree zodiac, and how did the ancients know that Hasta was the largest and that Chitra was the smallest of them? So Jade Luna's response, his responses are very direct and to the point, and he's like that for sure.
Yeah.
And so he says to me, India believes, as well do I, that Vedic astrology was channeled by God-realized masters that were in direct contact with the gods themselves of
Mm.
astrology. So he calls a Ganesh, and then he mentions Ganesh can still be channeled for this info to this day. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that that's what Ganesh is called. It's some ability, like a sixth sense ability, perhaps, that the ancients had
Yeah.
with. So defending Vedic astrologers, this would be the Jade Soul Luna's explanation as to why the degrees is different on the Vedic from what Mastering the Zodiac would show, if Mastering the Zodiac was based on the real natural sky, if we were to see it with our own eyes. So that's the explanation. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And so in regarding your Sabrina's moon sign is Chimera, or in Vedic. It's called Purva Bhadrapada, and I gave you the free reading the other week that I showed you, and yeah, I'll read off again what it mentions about the personality, or the typical personality of Purva Bhadrapada. And oh, boy, this takes a little getting used to. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so down to Chimera. And Jay Luna mentioned how these names were supposed to be, the reason he named these, like gave them their Greek names, the purpose was to make them kind of easier to pronounce and remember. That's another thing that he mentioned about. Now, Chimera, so those with a sun in Chimera or moon in Chimera, Chimera indicates a person who is passionate and transformational, but they can be a little extreme and indulgent at times. They are idealists and nonconformists and are good influencers of others. And they can also be, a shadow side of theirs can be fearful, nervous, cynical, and maybe a little over eccentric at times. And sometimes their life can be full of sadness and problems. And by the way, if you may, the viewers, you may have noticed how the chart that I showed, the chart that I did an example on, it was over a year ago that I scaled out the sizes of the nakshatras on this example Mastering the Zodiac chart. And as you could see, Kim Kardashian, ironically, Kim Kardashian is also, her moon is also Purva Bhadrapada. That is known in the Vedic system, and it would be the same case in the Mastering the Zodiac as well. So, and I'll just quickly read off to you mine as well. So the Vedic system says that my moon is Jesta, number 18. But if the Mastering the Zodiac system were correct, it would actually be Anuradha. Now, this is another reason why I would, if I were to choose between the two, between the Vedic and this, I would choose the Mastering the Zodiac, because to me, I'm not, see, they say that the sign of Jesta is kind of forward, and they're rather aggressive in leadership and that. I don't find that I'm like that, but everything, it's like everything it says about Anuradha, it's like, oh my gosh, that's me to a T. And it's like, and I'm like, man, I so resonate with that. And I really believe that, the Vedic system, it could be off by some degrees, but again, it's, I give a lot of respect to Vedic astrologers in general. And so what it's, Anuradha Nakshatra, what it's called in Asterian astrology is Urania. And so Urania is definitely named after how the planet Uranus is exalted in Scorpio.
Right.
And so I'm pretty sure that's where the name came from, of how Jade Sol Luna came up with that name, or the Greeks had it that way as well.
Right.
And so, but as we know, according to this, that Anuradha begins, the first half of it begins in Scorpio, and the second half and end to it is in Ophiuchus, if Ophiuchus were real, a real constellation. So as it mentions here, so those with a sun or moon in Anuradha or Urania, so this is me, indicates someone who has balanced friendships and relationships and is cooperative, loving, popular, and successful. And they are good leaders and organizers and are focused on their goals, but they are also good at sharing. And so I sure share info. I know I share info. I know I do that.
Right.
And the leadership part of it, I know it says about Jesta too, being like a leader, but kind of in an aggressive way, and kind of forward. And I'm more in a more calm way in general. So, so a shadow side of Anuradha is they can they love variety and travel, and they are faithful, but a shadow side of theirs is they can be jealousy in that. And yeah, I mean, I've certainly had spouts of envy in my life, and a lot of people too. But they say some traits some traits are more extreme with other signs than there are with others. So that would be the explanation about that. When people because people who are skeptics and they say, oh, but that could be the same personality with anybody and that. But the truth is, something I've noticed too with examination is that some traits are more extreme with certain signs than they are with others.
Absolutely.
And this is what kind of makes it evident to me from my view that this stuff is authentic.
Right.
It's authentic.
Right.
And
yeah, definitely jealousy can be associated with a shadow side of the Scorpion. And it's interesting that you mentioned the Nakshatra, because I recently watched a video from another Vedic astrologer on YouTube by the name of Claire Nakti, who did a study on the 100 richest, wealthiest people in the world and like billionaires. And from all of them, she took all of the nakshatras from the Vedic perspective of their moons, their ascendants, and their suns, and all their other planets. And within the moon, she actually found that most of them had their moon in Jyeshta Nakshatra, which is really interesting because of the fact that the moon is said to be in fall in Scorpio. And, sometimes people might not realize like the kinds of things that can actually also come out of certain placements, and then it ties into everything that we're talking about, like intuition and understanding and doing your own research. But yes, within that Jyeshta Nakshatra, there's definitely a strong yearning and that feeling of not having enough and therefore needing to accumulate it. And that's how she theorizes that those beings were able to, put themselves in that position. And I think it's very interesting to consider that and that study, and then to consider this view of the zodiac that we're looking at now, the true sidereal, and just see within just those two, comparing those two, how what kind of conclusions we can come to as we're doing. Yeah.
Something too. That's a great insight. And something that's been very, very noticeable to me is there's some people in my life close to me too, and even some relatives and friends. And it's like every one of them who, according to their day and time of birth, and with the Mastering the Zodiac chart, like being in Ophiuchus, showing their moon to be in Ophiuchus. Mm-hmm. Whereas in the Vedic system, it's in Scorpio, the end of Scorpio. Right. Right. I see a huge difference, monumental difference in their personality. Whereas this is a way that I believe Ophiuchus is a real constellation and sign, because being of a human being, like the sign being of a human origin, or human yoni, as the Vedic astrologers call it. And like but me just being outside of it, like my moon is right in the constellation of Scorpio, like just before the beginning of Ophiuchus. Right. And that, but the people I know who their moon not only in Ophiuchus, but past the first half of Ophiuchus, which is Jyeshta, which what would be Jyeshta in the Mastering the Zodiac system. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I see a real difference in like they're far more forward than I am. Absolutely. And aggressive in business and that. And there's some I know who, like the careers they're in, really takes it's a real tough jobs that they're in, and like they kind of have to be that way. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's no way there's like, if the moon, they say that, as I wanted to explain too. So like the moon is the closest celestial body to us. And the rising sign of ours is not a celestial body, they say, but the moon is, and the moon is the closest to us. And that's why what Jade Luna mentioned, that the ancients believed that the moon was the biggest sign of ours, and not the sun. Not the sun, not the. But there are, mind you, there are a number of Vedic astrologers that believe the rising is I don't know that they say it's the biggest, but they call it the most important because it shows where all your houses are, the planetary placements in our houses.
It sets the whole chart up.
The whole setup. Yeah, the whole setup of it. Exactly. Yeah. But typically, like, you know, when I first heard of Jade Luna, when he mentioned about the moon, like the moon to me, it kind of seemed to be the easiest to follow too, right? Because like throughout the day, like the ascendant moves so fast throughout the day.
Right.
That's another thing too. And with the moon, it's kind of, it's easier to notice, easier to track, so on and so on. And being the biggest, the closest celestial body to us too, that shows a lot. Yeah. So that kind of got me.
And the moon affects, like, you know, the tides here on Earth. It has a very tangible effect constantly. And I mean, of course, as does the sun, but the moon is said to be like a lot of times what is really going on, especially from a Vedic perspective, in your mind and internally. So a lot of people, especially when they're just looking at Western astrology or just the basics, you know, they might not resonate with their sun sign. It's so general, you know, but then you look into the moon sign and maybe you have a little bit more understanding of yourself, and then further and further, the deeper that you go and through the different perspectives that you're looking at. But one thing that I do think is interesting, and I definitely want to acknowledge the overlap between the Vedic perspective and the true sidereal, the Asterian. So if we can go back to the spirit vehicle and take a look at the women with ascendant in Purva Bhadrapada, and sort of you can begin to see a similarity, and she splits them up by women and men, and she does by ascendant in the Vedic version of Purva Bhadrapada, by sun and by moon. And then you can see the similarities in appearance. And then a lot of these people are like, they are celebrities, and you can see it also reflected in their work or in their choice of profession or in, you know, in what they actually are producing. So all of these people are said to have the ascendant Purva Bhadrapada, and you can sort of see like a similar gaze in their eyes. You know, I don't think that's coincidental that they all have this sort of like penetrating gaze. Purva Bhadrapada itself is very spiritual in nature, and it's constantly striving for some sort of like growth and rising of energy and deeper penetration of you know, of the surface of things. And you can clearly see that by the gazes in these people, and also the influence that these people are having in the world, especially at the times around these times where things are changing, and you know, and nowhere. So.
And so the ascendant, I did all the examinations of the women celebrities just over the weekend. And so what I see, if we were to compare, when people compare, so this is according to the Vedic Zodiac of them having an ascendant of Purva Bhadrapada. And so if we went by the Mastering the Zodiac chart and the outline that I mentioned, which is only based on theory, of course, but I actually saw that so here we have 8 celebrities mentioned of the ascendant. So I see that 3 of them are correct, being a Purva Bhadrapada rising, but that's just what Mastering the Zodiac mentions.
Which ones did you find would associate with that?
All of them. So for Firuza Balk. So Firuza Balk right here. Yeah. Gotcha. So her birth date being it's May 21st, 1975, 3 a.m. in Point Reyes, California. Okay. That's actually just outside San Francisco, California, for people who are curious. And so it did say that was correct, being gotcha. in the rising, being in Chimera, exactly. Chimera. And so the other one was regarding the rising signs here. So Kimberly Conrad was the other one. Yeah. So on August the 6th, 1962, 8:40 p.m. in Birmingham, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Kimberly Conrad. So it said that hers was correct.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, on this, in regards to the ascendant category, Demi Moore.
Okay, interesting.
Very famous star, Demi Moore. Yeah.
Yeah.
November 11, 1962 in New Mexico, 2:16 p.m. And hers did, and now all the rest of them said, it said Satta Bishak rising. For Satta
Okay.
Bishak rising. And
I see.
some were pretty close. Like some were like so like just on the outside, but like if we went by the exact calculations, it was like Satta Bishak actually goes into Pisces according to this, and then whereas Purva Bhadrapada is entirely in Pisces, and that some of them were pretty close. Same with the moon signs as well.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. So we'll take a look at the moon.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
Absolutely, yeah. Now, someone here, Kim Kardashian. I don't know if people are familiar with her, but yeah, she kind of looks familiar. Yeah, I think we know which one she is. Yeah. And so this one, there's 24. So here there's 24 celebrity women who are Purva Bhadrapada moon, they say. So out of these 24, 10 of them were Purva Bhadrapada, and the rest of them Satta Bishak. So 14 of them being really Satta Bishak. But I know what you mean, that, a lot of them do have similar looks, sort of, like maybe their forehead, eyebrows, no shape and that, but
cheek structure.
Yeah. I do see, so Kim Kardashian is one, as you see on the chart here.
Right.
And Catherine Zeta-Jones, it said is correct.
Mm-hmm.
And Rooney Mara, she was the actress from The Girl with the Dragon's Tattoo, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's her. She looks familiar from that. And also Asia Argento, with who's wearing the crown of thorns there.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah. And Hillary Clinton is true. And I actually knew that too from seeing her chart on Mastering the Zodiac.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this one, by the way, this one was amazing. Our Canadian Grimes, her name is, and I want to pull up hers as an example, actually.
Perfect.
And Grimes, she's our music star from Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
And so from Vancouver, so she is March 17, 1988. So Sabrina, you have this chart. I sent you this chart, and this is something like, if you're ever curious to say, okay, this person I know, this friend I know, this family member I know, if they're really that, it's interesting to compare, isn't it? Because, even, whichever one is correct between the two, Vedic and Mastering the Zodiac, I mean, it's quite undeniable. It's a fun thing to compare, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. To see what we can recognize within it, whether it's through like the different celebrities or people in our own lives. It's very interesting.
11:30 p.m. So got to go to Vancouver. There's something I must mention to the viewers, that regarding on the mastering on this calculator chart, or the calculator birth chart, here where you see find place from Atlas, this is actually not working on mobile version currently. It's only working on the desktop or laptop. It's actually been like this since August. Since August 2019, it's actually not been working on mobile. It only works. So like if you want to know like really specifically about somebody's rising, like knowing their time of day, and you'd have to know the location too. You'd have to go on laptop or desktop for it to work, because currently, and I actually let Athen know on a couple of occasions about this, that it's not currently working good on the mobile version. So basically you log in, or you click on the find place from Atlas, and then it refreshes the page and starts over again.
Yeah.
So it's been like that since August. So I think they're still working on it.
I actually found that on my laptop, it wasn't working either. So maybe it also has to do with the particular browser that you're using.
Okay.
So,
thanks for notifying that.
Just so people know. And you can easily just Google the place that the person is, latitude and longitude, and just type it in manually. That's what I did. So yeah.
And I'm just getting Grimes. I forget. I jotted down the day, but looks like I forgot to jot down the time. But I know it's Vancouver for sure. Oh, Canadian musician. Rising sign. Astrotheme is a great site where they mention about the time of day that the celebrities were born, but there has been some controversy. Okay, we're good. 11:30. Yeah. So this is our Canadian musician Grimes. So March 17, 1988 at 11:30 p.m. in Vancouver. So she has Moon, Sun, and North Node, or Rahu, all in Purva Bhadrapada. She may be I think she's the biggest Purva Bhadrapada on the list.
Wow.
Of the whole website. So that probably explains why she may be pretty extreme in her success in that, supposedly. But another, like, she is from Year of the Dragon too, like in her Chinese astrology, Year of the Dragon. Is people from Year of the Dragon, Month of the Dragon, or Day of the Dragon. That's another thing too, that people, I find a lot of people get famous from that too. But that's kind of a belief and assumption of mine, really. But the Chinese astrology I love is my favorite one, really, to focus on along with this. But this one, of course, is I like to look at both of them in combination, and that's why I mentioned Scorpio Oxman channel. Is the moon, Scorpio moon, day of Ox in the Chinese. So, and that's it right there. So the North Node, the Sun and Moon, all in a chimera. So that's
And she's got Pluto on close to the ascendant as well. She's definitely very powerful energies.
Right. Yeah. So her ascendant, that is Swati. Her ascendant would actually be Swati. So they mention here too about her ascendant being Aries, but they're probably going by tropical, which is understandable.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Which is understandable. But having a Libra rising with Swati rising, that makes a lot of sense, because the sign of Swati, they say they're like a shark. They never stop swimming. They never stop. They say the sign of Swati never stops moving, and you just can't stop them. So that would make a lot of sense with her. Having a Purva Bhadrapada moon,
right,
and a sun too. It's like, I don't.
Yeah.
Man, oh man, that's why I believe the stuff. The combination of all, and so.
Right, and even more so than the ruler of her ascendant, Venus, is in Aries, which is another sign that would indicate, relentless perseverance.
Right. Both Venus and Jupiter too.
Yes, exactly.
Venus and Jupiter. It's like Jupiter being the largest planet in our they call it the largest planet in our solar system, 1.3 million times the size of planet Earth, and that it's literally right at the beginning of the whole zodiac, Ashwini, the beginning of Ashwini.
Right. Yeah, fascinating.
And I find there was another big celebrity too, who's both his Mars and Venus are they're literally at the beginning on the MasteringTheZodiac chart. It's like right dead center of Pisces and Aries. And that's and I'm wondering if there's something about that spot that makes people like unbelievable in that.
Right.
And
right.
I think that was I know who it is. Kanye West. Kanye West. His Venus and his Mars, they're in the exact same spot, and they're right at the beginning there.
And one of them is at the beginning of Pisces, and one of them is at the beginning of Aries.
It's both of them are right. we'll take a look here.
Yeah, because I actually think from the Vedic perspective, Kanye West has his sun in Purva Bhadrapada, but I'm not sure if that will translate on this through this perspective. But it would be interesting to see, especially considering the partnership with Kim.
Correct. Yep. I know his moon, it says, is Satabishak, Atlanta.
Okay.
And just according to MtZ, Mastering the Zodiac.
Yeah.
45. I'll just generic chart. So yeah, his Kanye West is June the 8th, 1977. 8:45 a.m. is not, that's not confirmed. That's not a confirmed time, but there were some people that mentioned that's the most likely. And so, and there it is there. Yeah. So they're, his Venus and Mars, they're in Aries, but like, that's pretty well right at the beginning.
Right. It's interesting. I'm noticing the south node close to the midheaven seems to create fame. Like even the chart of that was just up Grimes, and I know Billie Eilish has that in her chart. That seems to be a interesting connection.
The midheaven is the MC, right? Where it says the MC. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the south.
Yeah,
and Billie Eilish had a similar one, eh?
Yes. Yeah.
Really.
The south node on that midheaven, or close enough, and Venus as well, which Kanye has, as you just showed.
December the 18th. She's also.
Yeah, she's definitely very, very prominent right now. So it'd be an excellent to look at her chart, because it's so, the energy is just like she's like worldwide, worldwide fame and popularity. So she's definitely in the consciousness of a lot of us.
They mentioned how this week, as a matter of fact, they I see right there. Yeah, she.
Oh, I think, is this still Kanye?
Yeah, we are. My bad.
Yeah.
It's,
oh,
December 18, and yeah. Or she's 11 p.m. or a.m. I believe she's 11 a. I'm pretty sure she's p.m.
You know what's really interesting, because I've been actually looking at her chart through the tropical perspective, and the entire chart is flipped. So you have the south node at the midheaven. So it just basically, the entire chart is inverted. And it's interesting to me to like, and this just ties back into like all the different perspectives that we can look at things through, and still gain some sense of understanding or value from those different perspectives. But I can also see this as well. If her north node is up there, that's something that she's striving for, which the fame and the recognition and
I have on 11:30 p.m. and also I meant to put a.m.
It is a.m.
And that is accurate. Apparently that is accurate. Astrotheme, the site Astrotheme, they say sometimes they make mistakes in the time.
Right.
There's another site called Astrostar is the name of it. And I believe, and they mention if the accuracy of the time is either good, no good, or excellent, and they say that her accuracy is excellent for
great.
30 a.m.
Yeah. So there we go. Now this is the one that I'm used to seeing. You see the south node.
Perfect.
So close to the midheaven, and the south node being like kind of what you already come into this life having. It's your karma. It can be like from past lives, and it comes to you, and the midheaven can definitely represent fame. And then you have the Venus close to the midheaven, which in Kanye's chart that we just looked at was also there, and that can also create beauty as well. And
for those not familiar, so the south node is basically the black horseshoe, that's shown here, and whereas the north node is the gray one. But once people get familiar with Mastering the Zodiac site, Athan Chineni has a chart where he shows the identity of the different planets, the nodes, and the signs as well. So yeah, well, once people get familiar with all of it, that's when
Yeah.
they know. And that, but
Yeah.
her chart is pretty amazing with all. It's a huge, like all these planets are so close together.
Right.
And that's like pretty, and so a lot of them basically, the Venus, Pluto, that would be Venus and Pluto would be on Urata, and the MC Sun South Node would be Jesta. It looks like, and Mercury and Jesta too. So that, yeah, and I mentioned we mentioned about Jesta being rather kind of aggressive and forwardness, and that, you know, her having a lot of planets in that too. That probably says a lot for Billie
Okay.
Eilish.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see. It's a little bit tricky to see with the colors, but I see. I think I do.
Yeah.
The moon, the sun is directly conjunct the south node. Yeah, it's color coded. You just have to look at the detail. But yeah, so Jeshta then extends. Does it go into the early beginning of Sag, or is it just mostly in Ophiuchus?
So where the cursor is, it goes right Jesta ends right about there in Sagittarius, and then from there is where Mula starts.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's where Mula starts. And so, and again, of course, and that's according to the Asterian Astrology description of the sun sign dates in combination with this. Yeah, the Mastering the Zodiac chart. And the video I made a couple of weeks back on the Billie Eilish being unstoppable, initially, the story that I initially thought that because those who have a major planet in the sign of Abhijit, which Abhijit they call the 28th Nakshatra. Some call it a Nakshatra, and others say it doesn't count as one because it's rather small, or for whichever reason. But it's in the fourth quarter of Uttarshada, which is basically the very center of Capricorn. So I noticed Billie Eilish's moon, her moon is, I thought that it was in Abhijit, but it looks like it, according to this, if these calculations were exactly correct, it looks like her moon is just past it. But unless she would have maybe a bit of a blend of, she could have a blend of it perhaps, because it's so close. It's really close. And I'm like, man, if she's a moon, so the moon being the closest celestial body to us, and that, you know, if she had a moon, people with the moon in Abhijit, apparently they're unstoppable.
Yeah.
So, because they call Abhijit means the one who cannot be defeated. That's what the Abhijit means. And so when it's like, and I mentioned before about, so Oprah Winfrey, her sun and her Venus are in the exact same spot, and they're in Abhijit, the fourth quarter of Uttarshada. And Christian Bale is another one. His sun is in Abhijit as well, the fourth quarter. So, and that's, yeah, I think that's another thing that I've taken notice of some people and celebrities, famous people, and that.
Yeah.
But people ask a question like, why doesn't everybody, you know, everybody born in that, why aren't they all like, you know, dominating the world in that? And wouldn't that be the case? Well, no, it's not the case, because people make their own choices. I mean, it's a competition thing too, you know, like not everybody could, you know, it's not like millions of people are going to dominate a certain a career and whatnot. So, because it'd be a little bit too much competition. I'm sure some people would kind of say, okay, I don't want to be involved with this. So that would make sense.
You can definitely, it definitely matters, like, you know, where in the chart it's placed, what house it's in might show you the focus that energy is getting put into. You also have to look at interactions with other planets as well. Like, all of these things are going to have a heavy influence. And then even with fame, there will probably be certain indications of that as well. Like we just mentioned, the South Node, close to the midheaven. So it's ultimately, we want to look at everything when we're going to make that, you know, make that assessment. But yeah, I feel like I can definitely understand how that energy is very present. I mean, Oprah Winfrey.
And because people question, and they're like, wait a minute, you know, someone, you know, I don't want to mention too many names, but like there's so many musicians, for example, and people ask the question, you know, they don't seem very talented, or they're not a good singer or whatnot. And how in the world did they get there in that? Well, and to me, it's got nothing to do with their singing. You know, it's something else. They just they have a powerful influence over people.
Yes.
That they have the vibe, they have the magic touch, and all stuff like that. And that's really what it is. And I also believe it has something to do with the day and time they were born too. I think that's, you know, or where the planets and stars were in the Chinese astrology and that, and that's just my opinion though, not that I'm making any conclusions, of course.
Yeah. It's fascinating, and it's an ongoing art and study and practice, and it's well, it's great for those who are interested.
Yeah, nothing's going to change after thousands of years. I mean, the ancients, the Egyptians and all that, they all, you know, I'm sure they always, you know, they always kept searching for stuff and knew whether it had to do with outer space or on planet Earth, you know, and that's, you know, nothing's changed today. If anything has really changed, it would be the appearance of material, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like the appearance of, you know, like the appearance of cars, the appearance of clothes, hairstyles, whatever we want to call it.
Right.
And but our what do you call it? Our introspection, or our you know, our focuses and all that. None of that's changed.
Right.
And so I mentioned so we were comparing the rising signs and the moon signs in the suns, and I mentioned how many of them were Purva Bhadrapada according to Mastering the Zodiac chart. So the rising, so out of 8 celebrities of the rising sign group, so 3 of them said Purva Bhadrapada according to Mastering the Zodiac. So of the moon category, it was 10 out of 24 turned out to be true or potentially true Purva Bhadrapada moon. Now, regards to the suns, so here we have Sharon Stone. So, and pretty well, so out of there were 19, so there's 19 women sun signs. So only, I want to take a guess how many turned out. So out of 19, I want to take a guess how many turned out to be real Purva Bhadrapada. Any guesses at all? If you had to guess, or if you want to guess, it's up to you.
I'm guessing 4.
Oh man, I'll give you a second chance. One more guess. One more guess. Yeah.
8?
That's a good one. That's a good one. Believe it or not,
3.
Only 3 out of the 19. Actually, I noticed most of them were March 11 birthdays, believe it or not.
Okay.
So that probably explains it, because typically, according to Jade Soul Luna's mentioned the sun sign dates, March the 11th, it's pretty well before the crossover, but it's in Pisces. It's actually in Pisces in the Mastering the Zodiac, but it is just before the crossing over to from Sattva-Vishak to Purva Bhadrapada.
Right. I think it's interesting to see if there's anything that we could even find as an observable difference between the ones that are you know, Sattva-Vishak versus Purva Bhadrapada in these
Great idea. Yeah.
I find so far what I'm sort of sensing with the ones mentioned before are, because Sattva-Vishak has to do with an exacting energy more so, right? To my understanding. So I actually do see that the ones that seem to be under that influence are a little bit more structured in their face, a little bit more like angular. Whereas with the Purva Bhadrapada or the Chimera which is also in Piscean, it seems to be a slightly softer features so far is something that I'm picking up on.
I just wanted to remind viewers briefly that according to the Mastering the Zodiac chart, or in the Vedic system, it mentions how that Purva Bhadrapada begins in Aquarius and then it goes into Pisces. Now, if Mastering the Zodiac was correct, we see that Pisces is rather large. It's actually the second largest of the constellations according to the natural sky. If that were the case of this, it would make Purva Bhadrapada to be entirely in Pisces and no part of it in Aquarius. So basically it's all Jupiter. The constellation of Pisces is ruled by Jupiter, and Chimera Purva Bhadrapada is ruled by Jupiter. It's basically as Jupiter as it gets, and that's why Kim Kardashian, Sabrina Petrov. So there's some examples that show, yeah, it's all Jupiter energy pretty well, because they're very but hey, the largest planet. It's the largest planet, right? I think that would say something with being the largest planet, but so this may be quite evident to you, Sabrina. So the very last one, Kaya and Betsy Brandt. So they are, it mentions their true Purva Bhadrapada sons. And the only other one is Julia Goldani-Telles, right there. Yeah, Julia, and Julia Goldani-Telles. She's March the 18th, 1995. And I have to admit too, she kind of looks similar. She sort of has, maybe this is not so noticeable. She sort of has a similar facial features and appearance to Kaya and Betsy Brandt.
I do see that. I do say, wait, did you say Sharon Stone was as well?
She's Satyabhishak.
Oh, she is.
Satyabhishak's son.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I don't know that I noticed any other planets of Sharon Stone's I don't think there was any. Most of these celebrities, I don't think they had, very few of them had any planets in Pisces, period, as far as I remember. But yeah.
So she does list too on this website, ascendants when available, and then the moon and the sun. So far, I'm not seeing any that have also the moon in that placement. But if you go up to
the moon placement,
either the moon or the ascendant, I remember seeing several of them that actually showed several planets in what what the Vedic Purva Bhadrapada. We could also, if you want to scroll down and go into the men, I see that it's lagging a little bit.
Just refreshing the page.
Oh, okay.
It appears to be, some of them mention how one is, it's still showing the guys,
Here, so all of these are Purva Bhadrapada ascendants.
Yeah, and not all of them look the same, but
right.
I know when seeing the women example, you could kind of notice, like in regards to the sun sign, they say our sun sign has a lot to do with our appearance also, like along with our ascendant. But I think there's an argument about that, because some Vedic astrologers, they mention the moon when they say give most credit to the moon for being appearance also. So I guess there's an argument there, and that's something that's probably going to take more research.
Right.
And okay, so it came up. So the moon for the women.
Okay, so for example, look at Rachel Weisz.
Yeah, Rachel Weisz.
It's moon and sun are in Purva Bhadrapada according to these calculations.
So her son. So for Rachel Weisz, her date being March the 7th, 1970, that too would be the Satyabhishak.
Right.
The part in Pisces, the Satyabhishak, but in Pisces still. Yeah. So her being more of a Satyabhishak moon and sun.
Right.
Is what that says, but again, it's quite an interesting topic, and this could go on for years. I kind of predict that a lot of Vedic astrologers will still follow the Vedic system, which I think I prefer that too, really, because the truth is, like, I knew Mastering the Zodiac before I knew about the Vedic system in the 27. So like I kind of researched and studied before, like I was in tropical like everyone else from years back in all my life. And then, but when, since Mastering the Zodiac has been out since 2012, and I got familiar with that, and it was only over a year ago that I started to become familiar with the 27, mostly in thanks to Jade Soul Luna, who kind of came out with his book. And Asterian Astrology, The Lost System of Alexander the Great, Volume 1 by Jade Luna, and where he shows the Greek version of the Vedic system, Asterian Astrology. And that's another link I'm going to leave below to show you guys. And that's any other questions, Sabrina? Though this was certainly a great time and hour we've had discussing this. And you know, there's going to be never-ending topics about this, I'm sure. And you know, I have asked Jade Soul Luna and Athen Chimeni their opinions in that. And I mentioned that Athen Chimeni did say to me, you know, he thought of one day, or he imagined one day adding the 27 to the Mastering the Zodiac chart, or however he would do it. But he said that he would do it when the time comes. That's what he mentioned in his email. So, which I find quite interesting. So, but anyhow, Sabrina, I can't thank you enough for joining us today on this and discussing this. We'll have more chats about it in the future. Yeah. And I'm going to have a huge lineup of other friends as well, and acquaintances, even family perhaps, to join Scorpio Oxman channel to discover to chat about the theories and the mysteries of astrology, whether the Chinese astrology, the astrology from outer space, the 27 signs, nakshatras of the zodiac in outer space, and a never-ending topic, and a lot of fun too. So thanks again for joining us today, guys. And you have a very great week. And aloha, Sabrina. Have a very great week, and all the best to you.
Aloha.
Yeah, aloha. All the best.
All the best. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.